"You're not family anymore," my daughter said. 3 days later, she needed my kidney. The kidney transplant coordinator's voice crackled through my daughter Miranda's phone as she held it on speaker, not knowing I could hear every word from behind the hospital room door. "Mrs. Chen, your mother is a perfect match, but we'll need her consent within 72 hours or we'll have to move to the next candidate on the list." Miranda laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Don't worry, she'll do whatever I tell her to. The old bat owes me after everything I've done for her." That was 3 days after she'd looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't family anymore, that she was cutting me out of her life completely because I'd refused to sign over my house to her. Well, she was about to learn that this old bat had fangs. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up and tell you how a 68-year-old retired teacher from Portland ended up hiding behind a hospital door, listening to her only daughter plan to manipulate her into giving up a kidney after literally throwing her out on the street. 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. My husband Carl had passed 5 years earlier, leaving me with our beautiful Victorian home worth $1.8 million, a retirement account with $847,000, and what I believed was a loving relationship with our daughter Miranda and her husband Derek. The first sign something was wrong came on a Tuesday morning in April. I was making my usual Earl Grey tea when Miranda called, her voice syrupy sweet, a tone I'd learned to recognize as her manipulation voice. "Mom, Derek and I have been thinking. You're getting older and that big house is too much for you to manage. We've found a lovely assisted living facility. Very upscale. Only $8,000 a month." "Miranda, I'm 68, not 98. I yoga 3 times a week and just returned from hiking the Cascade Trail." "Mom, be realistic. You forgot to lock your door last week." "Once. Because I was carrying groceries." "And you mixed up your medications." "I've never mixed up medications in my life." Here's the thing about gaslighting. It starts small. Little comments about your memory, your capabilities, your judgment. Miranda had been planting seeds for months, comments I'd dismissed as concern. "Mom, are you sure you turned off the stove?" "Mom, you told me this story yesterday." "Mom, maybe you should let Derek handle your finances." What I didn't know was that Derek's construction company was hemorrhaging money. They were 3 months behind on their mortgage. Their credit cards maxed out at $73,000, and the IRS was breathing down their necks for $45,000 in back taxes. They needed my money, and they needed it fast. The confrontation came 2 weeks later. Miranda and Derek showed up with a stack of legal documents and a woman they introduced as Dr. Patricia Hoffman, a geriatric psychiatrist. The documents included a power of attorney, a deed transfer for my house, and papers to liquidate my retirement accounts. "Just sign here, Mom," Miranda said, placing a pen in my hand. "It's for your own good." "I'm not signing anything without my lawyer reviewing it." That's when Dr. Hoffman spoke up. "Mrs. Chen, your daughter has shared concerning incidents about your cognitive decline. In my professional opinion, you need supervision." "Your professional opinion based on what?" "You've never examined me." Behavioral observations are quite telling. I stood up. "Get out of my house, all of you." Miranda's face transformed from fake concern to pure rage. "You selfish old bitch. After everything I've done for you? I gave up my career to take care of you." "What career? You worked part-time at a boutique for 3 months. You're not family anymore," she spat. "Don't call me. Don't come to our house. You're dead to me." They left, but not before Derek muttered something about other ways to handle this. 3 days later, I woke up at 3 a.m. to the smell of gas. My stove's pilot light had been blown out, all 4 burners turned on. If I'd been a heavy sleeper, if I hadn't had Scout, my cat, pawing at my face, I would have died. The security footage I'd installed after Carl's death showed a figure in dark clothing, picking my back door lock at 1 a.m. The figure was Derek's height, Derek's build, wearing Derek's distinctive college ring. But that's not even the worst part. When I called 911, the responding officer looked at his notes and said, "Ma'am, we received a call from your daughter earlier this week. She's concerned about your mental state. She mentioned you might stage incidents for attention." They'd been preparing for this. creating a paper trail of my supposed instability. I realized then that this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment cash grab. This was a calculated campaign to either control me or eliminate me. I knew I couldn't stay in the house. That night, I packed a bag, grabbed Scout, and drove to the Seafoam Motel on the outskirts of town. The owner, Betty, was a 73-year-old former nurse who'd lost her own daughter to greed. She took one look at my shaking hands and said, "Honey, whoever's after you, they just made an enemy of me." Over coffee the next morning, Betty helped me piece together a plan. "First rule of war," she said, "know your enemy better than they know themselves." I hired a private investigator, Marcus Thompson, a former FBI agent who specialized in elder abuse cases. What he uncovered over the next 2 weeks was staggering. Derek and Miranda hadn't just targeted me. Derek's mother, Eileen, had died under suspicious circumstances 2 years earlier, shortly after signing over her condo to them. The official cause was heart failure, but Marcus found evidence of a $50,000 life insurance policy taken out just months before her death. There was more. Miranda had been slowly poisoning me with small doses of benzodiazepine in my tea during her visits, hoping to create actual symptoms of confusion and memory loss. Dr. Hoffman wasn't even a real doctor. She was an actress named Patricia Helms, who Derek had hired for $500. But here's where they made their fatal mistake. They got greedy and sloppy. Miranda had been telling everyone, her book club, her neighbors, her hairdresser, that I was suffering from dementia. She'd even started a Facebook group called Supporting Mom Through Alzheimer's, where she posted fabricated stories about my decline. Poor Miranda, they all said, such a devoted daughter. Meanwhile, I was building my case. I had the security footage, the toxicology report showing drugs in my system I'd never been prescribed, the fake doctor's real identity, and a paper trail of their debts. But I needed more. I needed them to incriminate themselves. At my age, you learn that patience is the deadliest weapon. So I waited, and I planned. Betty had a nephew, James, who worked in IT. For $200, he cloned Miranda's phone during one of her gym sessions. Every text, every call, every email, I could see it all. That's how I learned about the next phase of their plan. Derek had found a buyer for my house, a developer willing to pay cash, no questions asked, for $1.2 million, well under market value. The plan was simple: have me declared incompetent, force the sale, and split the proceeds with their lawyer, Robert Steinberg, who was preparing to file for conservatorship. The texts between Miranda and Derek were damning. Derek: "How long until the old bag cracks?" Miranda: "Soon." I upped her dose. "She'll either sign or have an accident." Derek: "Make sure it looks natural." Miranda: "Please, after Eileen, I know what I'm doing." That text about Eileen, that was my smoking gun. But then, 2 months into their campaign, Miranda got sick. Really sick. Her kidneys were failing, a rare genetic condition that had skipped me but claimed her. Suddenly, the daughter who'd said I was dead to her was calling, texting, showing up at places she thought I might be. "Mom, please, I'm dying. I need your kidney. You're the only match." They thought I was just a helpless old woman who'd cave at the first sign of tears. They thought blood was thicker than water, but apparently not thicker than money. They didn't know I'd been 3 steps ahead of them for weeks. See, Betty's other nephew, Michael, was a nurse at the hospital where Miranda was being treated. He kept me informed of everything: her condition, her prognosis, and most importantly, the fact that while I was a match, I wasn't the only match. There were 3 other potential donors on the list, but Miranda was holding out for me because the others wanted compensation she couldn't afford to pay. I let her sweat for 2 weeks, let her feel what it was like to be desperate, vulnerable, afraid. Then I had Marcus deliver a message. I'd consider donating my kidney, but we'd need to discuss it in person, alone. She agreed immediately. We met at Providence Hospital on a Thursday afternoon. Miranda looked terrible, pale, thin, her designer clothes hanging off her frame. For a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of the maternal love I'd once had for her. Then she opened her mouth. "I knew you'd come around," she said. "You always were too soft. After the surgery, we'll need to revisit those documents about the house. For tax purposes. Even dying, she was still scheming. That's when I knew I was making the right choice. I'll donate my kidney, I said, on 3 conditions. First, you and Derek sign a confession about what you did to Eileen. Second, you return every cent you've stolen from me through your little poisoning scheme. I know about the credit cards you opened in my name, the $47,000 you've charged. Third, you sign documents relinquishing any claim to my estate, forever. Her face went from pale to gray. You can't prove anything about Eileen. Can't I? I pulled out my phone and played the text exchange between her and Derek. The DA thinks otherwise. In fact, he's very interested in reopening Eileen's case. You're bluffing. Call my bluff. I walk out that door, and you can explain to Derek why you're dying, because you were too proud to admit what you did. Here's the thing about desperate people. They make mistakes. Miranda grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. You evil witch, I'm your daughter. You have to save me. No, I said, pulling free. I don't. You said it yourself. I'm not family anymore. Security arrived, drawn by her screaming. As they escorted me out, Miranda shrieked, I'll tell everyone what you are. A mother who let her daughter die. But I'd prepared for that too. The next day, the Portland Tribune ran a story Marcus had helped me place. Local teacher exposes elder abuse ring. The article detailed everything: the poisoning, the attempted murder, the fraud, complete with documents and evidence. Miranda and Derek's faces were splashed across the front page. The story went viral. The Facebook group Miranda had created to document my fake decline became flooded with messages of support for me and outrage at her. Her book club expelled her. Their neighbors started a petition to have them removed from the Homeowners Association. But the real justice came from the legal system. Derek was arrested for attempted murder, fraud, and suspicion of murder in Eileen's death. The prosecutor, armed with the evidence I'd collected, felt confident about conviction. Miranda, from her hospital bed, was charged as an accomplice. Robert Steinberg, their lawyer, lost his license when the Bar Association discovered he'd been filing fraudulent conservatorship papers for elderly clients across the state. Dr. Patricia Hoffman, or rather Patricia Helms, was arrested for practicing medicine without a license. As for Miranda's kidney, a compatible donor came forward after reading the news story, a young teacher whose mother had been similarly abused by her children. She said she wanted to save a life, just not the life of someone who'd tried to take their own mothers. Miranda survived the transplant, but not the trial. She got 15 years. Derek got 25 to life. They lost everything: their house, their reputation, their freedom. The IRS seized their assets. The victims of their other scams came forward, filing civil suits that would keep them in debt for decades. I sold the Victorian for $2.1 million. Turns out, when you're not being forced to sell, you get a better price. I bought a beautiful condo with top-notch security and a view of Mount Hood. The rest of the money? I started a foundation for elder abuse victims. Betty runs it with me. We've helped 47 seniors escape abusive situations in the past 6 months. Scout and I are doing wonderfully. I still do yoga 3 times a week, but now I also teach self-defense classes at the senior center. Turns out being thrown away like garbage was the best thing that could have happened to me. It showed me who I really was, not just a helpless old woman, but a survivor. People ask me if I regret not giving Miranda my kidney regardless. Blood is thicker than water, they say. Family is family. But here's what 40 years of motherhood taught me that I wished I'd learned sooner. Family isn't about blood. It's about love, respect, and loyalty. Miranda and Derek showed me none of those things. Betty, Marcus, James, Michael, strangers who became my true family, showed me all of them. Last week I got a letter from Miranda in prison. She wanted to apologize, to reconcile. She said she'd found God, that she was a changed person. Maybe she has changed. Maybe prison and nearly dying gave her perspective. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it certainly doesn't mean giving someone the chance to hurt you again. I sent back a one-line response: "You're not family anymore." The irony wasn't lost on either of us. At my age, I've learned that the best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's living well despite them. Every morning, I wake up in my beautiful, safe home. I make my Earl Grey tea without fear. I tend to my garden, read my books, and spend time with people who actually care about me. Meanwhile, Miranda and Derek wake up in cells, their dreams of easy money replaced by the reality of prison food and concrete walls. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. Last month, I won $50,000 on a scratch-off lottery ticket, the first time I'd ever bought one. Betty laughed and said it was karma's interest payment for everything I'd been through. I donated it to the foundation. We're using it to fund legal services for seniors who can't afford lawyers. The other day, I ran into one of Miranda's book club friends at the grocery store. She couldn't meet my eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "We all believed her. We should have known better." "You couldn't have known," I told her. "Manipulators are expert at their craft." But that's not entirely true. The signs were there. The way Miranda only called when she needed something. The way she'd inventory my possessions when she visited, like she was shopping in a store that hadn't opened yet. The way Derek's eyes lit up when Carl died, already calculating the inheritance. I ignored those signs because I wanted to believe the best of my daughter. That was my mistake. Love shouldn't make you blind. It should make you see more clearly. These days, I volunteer at the hospital where Miranda had her transplant. I work with elderly patients, helping them navigate the system, watching for signs of abuse. Last week, I helped an 82-year-old man realize his son was slowly transferring assets out of his accounts. We stopped it before he lost everything. "How did you know?" he asked me. "Experience," I said. "Expensive experience." The truth is, elder abuse is an epidemic no one talks about. We're invisible victims, dismissed as confused, irrelevant, burdensome. Our own children, the ones we raised and sacrificed for, can turn into our greatest threats when money enters the equation. But we're not helpless. We're not stupid. We're survivors with decades of wisdom and, when pushed, the fierceness of cornered tigers. Miranda thought I was just a weak old woman she could push around. She forgot that I'm the woman who raised her, who worked 2 jobs to put her through college, who survived losing my husband and rebuilding my life. She forgot that age brings not just wrinkles, but wisdom, patience, and the kind of stone-cold determination that comes from having nothing left to lose. I think about Eileen often, Derek's mother, who wasn't as lucky as I was, who didn't have a scout to wake her, a Betty to shelter her, a Marcus to investigate for her. In her memory, every case our foundation takes is a victory she never got to see. People sometimes ask if I'm lonely without my daughter. The truth? I was lonelier when she was in my life, pretending to love me while plotting my destruction. Now, surrounded by genuine friends, doing meaningful work, I'm more fulfilled at 68 than I was at 38. There's a photo on my mantle now, not of Miranda, but of Betty and me at the Foundation's opening gala, laughing as we cut the ribbon. Behind us are dozens of seniors we've helped, all survivors, all thrivers. That's my family now, the one I chose, the one that chose me back. Miranda has 3 more years before she's eligible for parole. Derek won't be eligible for 15. Sometimes I wonder what I'll do if she shows up at my door when she gets out. But then I remember, I have a security system now, good locks, and more importantly, I have boundaries. The mother she knew, the one who would have given her anything, died the night they tried to gas me. The woman who survived doesn't owe her anything. Last week was my 69th birthday. Betty threw me a surprise party at the senior center. As I looked around the room at all the faces, fellow survivors, volunteers, friends who'd become family, I realized something. Miranda and Derek didn't steal my life. They revealed it. They showed me strengths I didn't know I had, connected me with people I never would have met, and gave me a purpose I never would have found. Would I go through it again? Number. But am I grateful for who I've become because of it? Absolutely. The young teacher who donated her kidney to Miranda sends me Christmas cards. She always signs them the same way, from one daughter to the mother who deserved better. It makes me cry every time, but they're not sad tears anymore. They're tears of recognition, of solidarity, of triumph. At my age, you learn that family isn't about obligation or DNA. It's about showing up when it matters, protecting instead of exploiting, loving instead of using. The family I have now, Betty, Marcus, the foundation volunteers, the survivors we help, they understand that. They show me every day what real family looks like. So if you're out there, reading this, feeling trapped by someone who should protect you but doesn't, know this: you're stronger than you think, you're smarter than they assume, and you deserve better than anyone who sees your vulnerability as an opportunity. Document everything, trust your instincts, find your Betty. There's always a Betty, someone who sees through the manipulation and stands with you. Don't let anyone, especially not your own blood, convince you that you're less than you are because of your age. And remember, the best revenge is a life well lived, surrounded by people who actually deserve you. My name is Grace Chen. I'm 69 years old. I'm a survivor of attempted murder, elder abuse, and family betrayal. I'm also a founder, a friend, a fighter, and proof that it's never too late to start over. They thought I was just a helpless old woman. They were half right. I am a woman, and I am old. But helpless? Never again. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.